The age of the Switch has been something for the history books. This thing received some of the best first-party support of any Nintendo console to date, but that's really only half of what makes the Switch's library so fantastic. Unlike its ill-fated predecessor, the Wii U, the third-party support is also off the charts. Only a few years into its life, the phrase, "but when is it coming to Switch?" became almost a meme. Everybody and their dog wanted a piece of the Switch pie, and soon port after port after port stampeded their ways onto the platform. This included miracle ports like Doom or The Witcher 3, unthinkable bridges between other platforms with the likes of the Ori games or every PlayStation Final Fantasy title through the PS2 era. On top of that, you then had the wave of unearthed remastered collections like Grandia, Tomb Raider, Ninja Turtles, Mega Man, Mega Man X, Disney Classics, Spyro, and Crash. I mean, the list goes on forever. So as it stands now, the Switch basically has everything you could ever want, with a few glaring exceptions. Today I'm going to cover just a few games that everyone expected to be part of the Switch craze, but never were, the absence of which are nothing short of baffling. This could change, of course, before all is said and done, but as of now, at the end of 2024, I'm a little worried they'll never be a thing. Now bear in mind, these are just a few of the ones on top of mind for me right now, based on what I'm into, so it's in no way a comprehensive list of all the prolific games missing from the Switch, which is why I need you to go to the comments and list every one that you're thinking of so we can discuss them. I'll start with the elephant in the room, arguably the most important one on the list and the most talked about, Chrono Trigger. Where the frick is Chrono Trigger? The game is hailed as one of the greatest games of all time, and the last time it got a real, newly enhanced version, meaning excluding the Steam and mobile releases, was back in 2008 on the Nintendo DS. Not the 3DS, the original DS. In a world where Square Enix is remaking and re-releasing everything in their back catalog, including full-blown remakes like FF7, HD 2D remakes for Dragon Quest, and even a remastered version of Chrono Cross, why? Where is their most beloved game of all time? For years I thought its blatant suspicious absence indicated a huge remake was on the way, but now I'm not so sure. Back around the time of the aforementioned DS remaster, Square Enix stated in an interview that the DS port had underperformed, and that if fans wanted more Chrono action, they needed to show it with their wallets. Despite looking forever, I failed to find the actual quote, but I remember reading it at the time and getting really discouraged by it. Well, it seems they may have been serious. At this point in time, nobody can explain this terrible omission to Square Enix's modern game library. It makes absolutely no sense, and despite what some on the internet may be claiming, there are zero official signs of any kind of re-release, remaster, or remake as of yet. All we can do for now is just pray they pull a fast one on us and drop an announcement out of the blue sometime. If Chrono Trigger misses this generation, it will be unforgivable. Oh, okay, I can feel the air clearing a bit already, can't you? But what about this one? Mega Man Legends. Capcom has been busy the last decade remaking all their Resident Evil games, and have also resurrected some older classics like Ace Attorney and even freaking Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now, despite also releasing the Mega Man collections I mentioned earlier, it's no secret that for some reason Capcom really doesn't like Mega Man these days. But doesn't Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 feel like the perfect combo pack for the Switch? Or any modern platform for that matter? I mean, the games are still banished to the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64. That's wild. The games have a pretty big cult following, they ooze with charm, and hold up honestly really well. Outside of some wacky camera controls, they wouldn't need a ton of work to feel fresh again. Fans have been begging for more Mega Man Legends ever since Capcom squashed the Mega Man Legends 3 project for the 3DS. By the way, I was there back in 2001 fighting on the front lines of the Get Me Off the Moon campaign, which tried to resurrect the cancelled game to no avail. Shout out to any other veterans out there who may be listening. Sorry we lost. Third parties will be third parties after all, but what about first party? If you include NSO titles, the entire Legend of Zelda series is playable on the Switch. with the exception of 2 all-time greats that remain inexplicably missing. That is, of course, what we've all been talking about for years at this point: Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, which we all assumed would ship in some sort of bundle by now. Now that Xenoblade Chronicles X has been announced, I'm pretty sure that these are the only 2 prolific games left to port over from the Wii U. I still wouldn't be surprised if these came out in 2025 sometime to pad out the wait for Switch 2, but there is actually one more Zelda game that's missing as well: Ocarina of Time. Now hear me out, I know Ocarina is technically on NSO, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the version that is not trash.
Ooh, them fighting words.
The definitive version, Ocarina of Time 3D. Like Chrono Trigger, Ocarina of Time is considered to be one of the greatest games ever made, so why the heck does Nintendo still have the incredible remake locked in the 3DS dungeon? The thing was a ground-up remake, with new gorgeous character models, gyro controls, a revamp of the sluggish UI, and even a modified water temple that doesn't make you want to kill yourself.
Well, that's good news.
It's a 10 out of 10 remake of a 10 out of 10 game. A simple enhanced port of Ocarina of Time 3D would have sold like mad on the Switch, and frankly, I'm not sure why they haven't done it yet. Here's another quick one while we're talking about having complete series on the Switch. What about my favorite series of all time, Final Fantasy? Right now you can play Final Fantasy 1 through 12 on Switch, excluding 11 of course. You can even include Final Fantasy 15 if you count the Derpy Pocket Edition, which, let's be real, was about as dumb as the real version. My point is, what about the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy? Now, don't get me wrong, I hate Final Fantasy 13 and its sequels, but I've heard a decent amount of chatter about it over the years to suggest a demand is actually there for these games. And who knows, maybe porting them over can win some new unfamiliar crowd members over, including myself. Nah, probably not. Okay, next one. This one isn't talked about nearly enough, and it really should be. One of the best legacy video game series is Mortal Kombat. And I don't know about you, but I feel like it's really lost its way the past decade or so. I know this is not the word you immediately associate with Mortal Kombat, but to me, it's just lost its charm. I showed my 12-year-old son the 1995 movie, which he loves, but I haven't been able to properly introduce him to the series because of how intense the new ones are, and the originals are still essentially a lost to time. As far as I know, they aren't available on any modern platform, including Steam. Why on earth hasn't Midway created a Mortal Kombat Trilogy remastered bundle for Switch, containing the first 3 games with enhanced visuals and controls? Or even just throw them up on NSO as is, for Pete's sake. It would be a perfect callback to the retro SNES days and would go really well with the split Joy-Con setup too. To me, the lack of an OG MK trilogy is one of the most baffling omissions to the retro remaster scene. Okay, just 2 more for my personal list before I go down and check out yours in the comments. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. There are currently 2 Castlevania collections on Switch, and if my quackulations are correct, together they total 13 games. And guess what? None of them are the one everyone wants. They include the NES and GBA entries to the series, and there are some good ones in there, but seriously, haven't we been trolled enough with reducing Alucard to a mere assist trophy in Smash Ultimate? Give us the game already! It is available on PS4 in a pack with Rondo of Blood, but I'm not a huge fan of that version with its new re-recorded voice acting. We need the original version on Switch, like yesterday. Please. For my last one, I'm gonna go with Tomb Raider 2013, which I still think is the best Tomb Raider game ever made. With the original being a PS3 game, predating the Switch by 4 years, and the remaster a PS4 game, I feel like it could make a pretty easy leap to the portable world. With the entire reboot trilogy being long said and done at this point, I know this first installment is pretty old news, but there have been weirder and more irrational ports. Looking at you again, Chrono Cross. Not to mention random drops like Devil May Cry or an ActRaiser remake. Alright, I'm gonna keep thinking on it, but for now, I need you to fill in the gaps. What are some more missing in action games for Switch that we need to add to the list? Let me know in the comments after you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Big shout out to all of the esteemed channel members, thank you very much. And a massive shout out to the channel's superfan, Craig Stratton. If you want to become a supporter of the channel, just navigate to the join button on the homepage or right underneath this video.